In March 2003, 50 isn't done wailing on Ja Rule just yet. At the end of the month, he drops the mixtape Smokin' Day 2, featuring a track called The Realest Killers. This song eventually ended up on the soundtrack to the Tupac film Tupac Resurrection, and it also featured a posthumous verse from Tupac, as well as an intro from 50 Cent talking about someone, Ja Rule, being a fake Tupac, and a full-length 50 Cent verse where he seems to go at Ja Rule for pretending to be Tupac, suggesting he did this to get hot, but now he's not. I mean, this was a particularly scathing type of diss because it's a Tupac song remix, and after all, Ja Rule's entire career has been dogged by these Tupac comparisons. But this wouldn't be the last time that Eminem and 50 Cent would use the Tupac connection to hurt Ja Rule's feelings. In April, Ja Rule finally jumps on a song responding to Eminem, with a freestyle on 50 Cent's Stabber Black Child's mixtape, once again dissing 50 for being a snitch, and saying he's gonna get busy with a shotty on Blondie, aka Eminem.
What kind of world is this with this praise? Looking out through the dark, I see like shades. So I'm hunting you blondie with the sword gauge. Cause I heard that little dad was talking crazy. You heard your crack, I went ground beef out your bay. And have your moms getting on the daily. You know you feel me? Cause I'm clearly the rap thing's Jimmy. How?
This freestyle was just a taste of things to come, however, as a few days later, Ja Rule goes on to release the devastating full-length diss track Loose Change, an obvious reference to 50 Cent. In the track, he imagines 50 being dead and calls him a snitch once again, but the track went far beyond just dissing 50. Ja Rule dissed the entire label, Shady Records, Interscope. Hell, he even went at label boss Jimmy Iovine saying that he gets peed on. No free beats for Ja. He also accused Dr. Dre of being gay and a cross-dresser along with Eminem, and M was the one who Ja had the most smoke for on this song, accusing M of wanting to be black, before dropping the beat and ending the song with the most devastating diss line that you could possibly say to Eminem.
Shut up, M, you claim your mother's a crackhead and Kim is a known slut, so what's Ellie gonna be when she grows up?
Yes, basically, he said that his daughter was gonna grow up to be a hoe. Don't do that, Ja. Oh, Ja. Naturally, Eminem was not going to let this slide, and he later said in his verse on Like Toy Soldiers that this was the moment in the beef that he completely lost it. And a couple of weeks later, we got a big response, as DJ Green Lantern drops the Invasion Part 2 mixtape, which features Eminem, D12, G-Unit, and other Interscope Records artists, all dissing Ja Rule. They had skits with Eminem mocking Ja.
Keep it locked in right here. Coming up next, we got the new Last Temptation by Ja Rule's Nothing Anymore.
This was followed by a rare Eminem and G-Unit link-up, the Ja Rule Diss-a-thon Bump Heads, where Eminem mocked Ja for a long laundry list of things, including, but not limited to, taking ecstasy, thinking he's DMX, thinking he's Tupac, thinking he's Martin Luther King, singing the same songs over and over again, and basically just being Ja Rule. Then M goes on to ask why didn't Ja Rule say anything to him when they bumped into each other at the airport. Now this is a reference to a mythical incident where Ja Rule and Eminem did indeed run into each other at an airport when they were both having their jets refueled at the same time. An incident which Ja actually elaborated on many years later in a Vlad TV interview.
I seen him, we was at Teterboro, and we were switching jets, and it was a man-to-man respectful conversation. Like, I know what it is, M, and M's like, you know, I don't really got no hard feelings towards you. It's just, that's home team, and it's a rap beef. And
he signed to my label.
He signed to my label, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I know what it is, you know what I'm saying? I said, I ain't got nothing against you neither.
Well, according to Eminem, Ja Rule was the one being all buddy-buddy that day. In fact, M ends the verse with the coffin nailer of a line, saying that day we met at the airport, Ja Rule just slapped my hand, smiled, and told me 50 Cent was everything he wanted to be. Now I know that's enough to make Ja Rule want to jump off the roof of the nearest gyro spot to a tzatziki-soaked grave, but the Shady Records execution squad were not done there, oh no. They were just warming up, because the next track on the mixtape is the devastating Loose Change response song, Hail Mary. Another reworking of a classic Tupac song just to add a little more salt to Ja Rule's wounds. In fact, before a single lyric had even been dropped in this song, Eminem had handed Ja Rule another Tupac-shaped L when he decided to prevent Ja Rule from participating in any of the songs on the new posthumous Tupac album, Loyal to the Game, which Eminem had been given permission to executive produce by Tupac's family. So doubling the disrespect on M's version of Hail Mary, he uses Tupac's cadence and flow to dish Ja Rule in the worst possible way, saying in the hook, if Pac was still here now, he would never ride with Ja. Nah, 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 nah. Wasn't so bad. He said that Ja Rule's been stealing Tupac's quotes for years, hoping no one will notice. He dropped numerous references to Ja Rule being hooked on pills, which is a little rich coming from Eminem these days, but whatever. Next verse, 50 Cent taps into the Royal Rumble and goes hard on Ja, saying that Ja couldn't take 9 shots like he did, and asking when's your little sweet ass gonna come out of the closet. But of course they weren't done there, no. Because Hail Mary was followed up by another Ja Rule diss, Do Re Mi, aka Haley's his revenge with Eminem and D12. A track which literally opens with a skit where Eminem's daughter Haley says that she doesn't want to end up like Ja Rule's dirty ass kids. Eminem even asks his daughter to go and fetch his Oscar so that he can shove it up Ja Rule's ass. And then D12 ride out hard on Ja Rule in the verses too, with M jumping on the hook saying, "Ja, quit playing, knock it off, you're not Tupac. Don't hate me cause I'm hot and you're not. Shooting at me with the only shot you got." And to cap it all off, Haley jumps back onto the track on the outro to ask Eminem, Ja Rule is taller than her, prompting him to reply, "Nah honey, you're the same height." Woo, that's savage. After that, the mixtape is littered with more Ja Rule disses. Hell, G-Unit even had Tony Yayo phone in from jail just to say fuck Ja Rule.
We just jacked for some motherfucking phone time, and I'm about to drop some Ja Rule punk.
All of this was frankly devastating for Ja Rule and Murder Inc., who were still going through the ringer with their ongoing case. At this point, 50 Cent and Eminem were the hottest thing in the game, and their army of fans all over the planet were screaming Ja Rule in unison. In an attempt to respond to this, Ja Rule and Irv Gotti ended up bagging a XXL cover story where they were pictured in the crosshairs and named as two of America's most wanted, doing an extended interview in their words to fire back at all the motherfucking haters. Irv said that he thinks the fans want the beef to turn violent, going on to suggest that 50 Cent or Eminem could end up being killed as part of this beef. Ja Rule says he hasn't seen 50 since the beef started, eventually going on to say that he's gonna wear out 50 Cent, Eminem, or Dr. Dre's ass if he ever catches up with them. Now, I don't want to imagine what he means by that, but it would turn out that offering to wear out the ass of a legend like Dr. Dre was not such a good idea either, because a few months later, the Shady Records hit Shit Hits the Fan drops, featuring a verse from Dr. Dre where he, I can only really describe it as "Where's Ja Rule's ass?" Dre directly responds to Ja's threat of slapping him, saying that Ja's got to jump to even have a shot at slapping Dre's kneecaps. Dre goes on to say that he laughs at the threats in magazines and that he sees right through them, and then finally coming through with the coffin nailer of a line, "You're not Tupac, I knew him. Pac was a real Nigel, you're just a insult to him." My lord, that's savage. Now, in response to the onslaught of hate that he was getting from the other side, Ja Rule finally got round to dropping a few diss songs. Firstly, there was Guess Who Shot Ya, a track mainly mocking 50 Cent for getting shot a bunch of times and not knowing who did it, and insinuating that Murder Inc. had something to do with that shooting, suggesting that 50 snitched. Ironic when you're literally snitching on yourself in the same breath, isn't it? But anyway, Ja also makes fun of 50's mom, who was a drug dealer and killed when he was a kid. Another Ja Rule diss track circulated around this time under the title of So Hot, where Ja dissed 50 for more of the same old things. Now, it's not entirely clear when these disses dropped, but really they were all just the appetizer for Ja's new, bigger, much more polished response single, Clap Back, which was frankly one of the most successful records that he had put out in a while, landing at 44 on Billboard and of course being laden with 50 Cent and Eminem disses. Ja says he's gonna find Eminem like Saddam and bomb him. He says he's gonna let guns blast on 50 Cent for snitching, yet bizarrely, after dropping a mainstream and quite successful diss song, Ja seems to do a complete 180, appearing in a bizarre 30-minute interview with Louis Farrakhan from the Nation of Islam, apparently calling for peace with 50.
Will this meeting of a 27-year-old rapper and a 70-year-old charismatic religious leader end this beef?
But if you look closely, you could tell Ja's heart wasn't really in it.
Tell me, how did this beef get started with you and Brother 50?
I really think it started from a lot of jealousy, a lot of hatred towards me.
Allegedly, 50 was invited to this sit-down but turned it down because he wasn't buying Ja Rule's flimsy peacemaker act, later telling MTV that he thought the entire thing was simply a publicity stunt to try and promote his album. And sure enough, straight after that interview, Ja Rule's album drops. Blood in My Eye was considered by many as sort of a hate album because the entire thing was pretty much just littered with 50 Cent and Shady Records disses. This included the track Things Gone Change, where Ja went at 50M, Dr. Dre, hell, he even had Smoke for Proof out of D12. Leave Proof out of this! But regardless of Ja Rule just whiling out all over the Shady Records boys on his Blood in My Eye album, this album ultimately flopped to Ja Rule's own standards. It only managed to hit number 6 on Billboard, moving 139,000 copies first week, which I know is pretty good to 2021 standards. But hell, even back then, the G-Unit Crew album Beg for Mercy debuted better at number 3 on Billboard and selling 377,000 units first week. That's not a 50 album, that's the G-Unit album. In my opinion, it's really here where Ja fucked up the most. Because him alone, Ja Rule, is the one who let his album and ultimately his entire career be defined by this beef with 50 Cent. And as a result, his failure in this beef would be intrinsically linked to a complete failure of of his entire career from this point onward. Furthermore, Ja Rule had kind of abandoned the original fans that took him to the top by dropping his clean pop mainstream image so that he could drop the street album Blood in My Eye that was just full of hate and disses, alienated that mainstream pop audience who had initially bought his earlier albums in droves. And at this point, Ja Rule was completely alienated from any of the real rap fans who were riding with 50 Cent and G-Unit at the time. You simply couldn't be a fan of 50 Cent and also like Ja Rule, and Ja Rule was partly responsible for that. So the coffin of Ja Rule's career was firmly nailed shut at this point, and from here on out, we would truly see the fall of Ja Rule.